Today's show is sponsored by the multiorgasmicmama.com. If lack of confidence, low libido, or guilt and shame around your sexuality are the cause of your bedroom woes, the hot wild sex you never have anymore, or the transition into motherhood that sucked your libido dry, let me help you get your mojo and magnetic feminine spark back. Magic, miracles, total self-love, and multi-orgasmic bliss included. See you at themultiorgasmicmama.com. Hey beauties, it is Lacey Broussard here, and today we are talking about the real reasons why you have lost your mojo and what you can do to get it back. You know what I often hear? It's stuff like this. I don't have time for sex and I'm too tired for sex. Or I don't know how to transition and relax from my busy workday into feeling up for sex. Or she or he doesn't give me enough foreplay. Or sex hurts and I don't enjoy it and it's the same thing every time, blah, 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 blah. And then many of you are out there wondering where your mojo went. The truth is, most of everything I just said are symptoms of a much deeper issue that happens to be one of the real reasons that you don't desire sex. So what are they then, you ask? Well, let Lacey Mama tell you all about it, baby. All right, there are 5 main reasons why you don't desire sex. And the first one is, number 1, you don't prioritize it or make time for it. This is actually my biggest pet peeve excuse that I hear from women, and it literally drives me fucking nuts. I am not gonna lie, it drives me fucking crazy. This is the stuff where when I need to decompress from a work day, this is what I bitch about. You know why? Because guess what, honey? We all are busy. We all are having and living busy lives, and we all get the same 24 hours in a day. But the only difference between someone who has frequent, regular sex with their partner and someone who doesn't? The couple that has the frequent, regular sex makes it a priority and they make time for it. That's literally fucking it, people. That couple is just as busy as you. And one of the most common reasons that you're not desiring sex is because you are not having it. And you're not having it because you don't make it a priority. And with that said, maybe now you'll understand that this is exactly why the most frequent advice from therapists around sex issues is to schedule it in. I know it sounds boring and blah and like it's so not cool, but you know what's really not cool? Being married for 10 years where the average amount of time that you actually have sex, like once a month, if you're lucky, that's not cool. So the biggest reason this advice is given is because it's scientifically proven that the more that you have sex, the more that you desire it. It's really that simple. That's why it's so important that if you lack desire, it might be because you aren't having enough of it. Sounds too simple to be true? Then I want you to take this on as an experiment, and I want you to double the amount of times that you have sex in a week or month. So if you usually have sex once a week, I want you to make it twice. And I am willing to bet money that your desire will increase if you start actually having sex more. If you have to schedule this in, I don't care. Just do it. Okay. Sometimes that's the easiest, simple way to resolve the issue of not desiring sex is just to make it happen. So when you make it a priority and you make time for it, you'll have more sex. And when you have more sex, guess what? You're going to desire more sex. Simple as that, babe. All right, now the second real reason that you don't desire sex is that you don't take care of yourself enough and you have bad hormonal health or health in general. Now, I am not a health expert and I'm not a hormonal health expert, but I do know that lack of desire can be very much affected by your overall health and especially your hormonal health. If you don't have a regular fitness routine, then it's likely that your hormones might be imbalanced. So we all know that having regular exercise helps increase testosterone. So if you lack desire and you haven't been paying any attention to your physical health, then just starting a regular fitness routine might very well spike your desire. Also, everything around us these days is made of plastic. Did you know that plastics have estrogen mimickers that have a huge impact on your hormonal health and largely on your sexual experiences? So toxins in the environment have affected testosterone in both men and women. And of course, our modern sedentary lifestyle affects hormonal health. So I want you to consider getting rid of all plastic water bottles and containers in your house and replacing those products with something that won't affect your hormonal health in a negative way. So paying attention to your physical and hormonal health is super important if you have been struggling with a lack of desire. So I want you to get moving, sign up for a gym, go do something active at least 3 times a week for 30 minutes. And I want you to switch out all of those plastic materials in your house. Now, the third real reason that you lack desire is that you don't understand sex drive. Let's talk about sex drive, shall we? Now, the funny thing about sexuality is that it's not actually a drive. I say this because the latest research shows that desire isn't something that you have or that you don't have. No, ma'am. Sexual desire is way more nuanced than that, and especially for women. And for so long, sexuality for women has been mapped and compared to men's sexuality. And it has totally skewed how we view sex drive altogether. So actually, sex drive isn't even a thing. For women, our desire, it's either spontaneous or responsive. Most women have what we call a responsive desire, where they only feel desire in response to a series of events that have happened. But some women and most men have what we define as a spontaneous desire, where your desire for sex isn't really dependent on what happens or what stimulus is around, you just desire it. Women also have what we call a dual control method of accelerators and brakes. So accelerators are things that turn us on, and brakes are things that turn us off. And for many women, the accelerators can be slow and insensitive, and the brakes can be fast, hard, and sensitive too. Now, the thing about sexual accelerators and brakes is determining what are the things that accelerate your desire, and then trying to create more of those experiences and opportunities with the help of your partner to aid in accelerating, and then determining what causes the brakes and doing what you need to decrease the situations where your brakes might get put on. So this whole spontaneous versus responsive desire situation, and then the dual control method of accelerators and brakes, this is a really big topic, and it's way more broad and vast than one single podcast. But if you're interested in learning more about desire and you really want to understand how that works, I want you to go get the book Come As You Are at the library, and it is by the author Emily Nagoski. It is absolutely revolutionary and will help you to better understand sex drive and how sex drive isn't really even a thing. You can even take a little test to see if you are a spontaneous or responsive desire person. And you can also take a little test to see how sensitive your accelerators and brakes are. So when you have this knowledge about how your desire works, you can actually work with the situation to help you have more experiences where your desire might get ignited or where your brakes won't get on so easy. So go get the book and then try it out and let me know how that goes. Now, the fourth real reason that you've lost your mojo is because you're bored, and you probably haven't admitted it yet. And what's really going on here is that a lot of people don't want to admit that they're bored, because that means if they do, then they actually have to have a conversation with their partner about being bored. And this can also have a lot of feelings of guilt or fear around having this discussion. So when you're bored, it's because you've put up a fence around what you're willing to explore and do sexually, because maybe there are only a couple things that feel safe to you anymore. They just feel tried and true, so why try anything else out? Now, this is where it gets fun. So I want you to put on your sexual explorer and adventurer hat for just a little bit. Now, what this does not mean is go dabble in kink and BDSM, or bringing in other partners or doing anything that you're like really not comfortable with just for the sake of trying to change things up. No, that is not what I mean. Please don't go off and do that if you're bored and you think this is the solution. What this does mean is I want you to get curious about why you're bored and what's keeping you from exploring more, and then having an open and honest discussion with your partner about how you think that maybe your lack of desire might have something to do with the fact that you're just bored, and how maybe exploring something new together might help you get more excited about sex and to desire it more. So what more is there, you ask? Well, there is a whole world of tantra and erotic play just waiting for you to dive in and explore, my dear. It is literally endless. The possibilities of what you can experience sexually when you start exploring tantra and erotic play, and maybe a little bit of kink and BDSM too, that could be contained in that. So the sad thing is we just get in a sexual routine and we forget that we were born to be sexual and erotic explorers. And this sexual routine is absolutely one of the biggest killers of sexual desire for men and women in long-term relationships. So get on your sexual explorer hats and go check out my Sex Goddess 3 Weeks to Better Sacred Sex program for individuals and for couples right now at www.themultiorgasmicmama.com/tantra. And I want you to read through the content there and learn about how this program can help you break out of your boring sexual routine and can help you get excited about having sex again by exploring tantra together or individually. Then I want you to book a free call with me. There's a little link in that page where you can book a call and we can talk about it and to see if that program is right for you. Alrighty, now the fifth real reason that you don't desire sex is you have unhealed sexual trauma, including guilt and shame and or unprocessed conditioning around your sexuality. This one might seem pretty obvious, and a lot of women obviously have experienced sexual trauma and have never been to therapy or worked with a sex coach like myself before to help heal their sexual trauma. Now, when I say trauma, I mean any adverse sexual abuse or trauma, or it can mean something as simple as guilt and shame from being raised in a really religious home or a very conservative home where sexuality and bodies weren't allowed to be spoken of. So that can be a trauma to a person. I've had that myself. So just know that sexual trauma doesn't just mean rape or molestation or anything. It can mean something as simple as I grew up feeling that my sexuality was something I should be guilty of or ashamed of. That's trauma because it affects your desire. It affects your ability to be able to experience sexuality in a whole and integrated and a loving and pleasurable way. So you can be aware of all the things that will help you have better sex and will help you increase your desire. But if you don't address latent trauma or unintegrated abuse or shutdown, then it doesn't really matter, because sexual healing is absolutely vital in order to experience the fullness of your sexual desire. So if you have experienced sexual trauma, whether that be adverse sexual trauma or guilt and shame that really caused a lack of desire, but you've never worked with a therapist, I want you to make that a priority right now. And if you have done some work with a therapist before and you're still on the healing journey and path, then I want you to check out my Multi-Orgasmic Bliss Jade Egg coaching program and check out how I work with women to empower them on their own healing path and their own healing process after they've done a little bit of work with the therapist first. So see what you think, and if it's something that you might be interested in, I want you to book a call with me at themultiorgasmicmama.com/coaching. And that is a wrap, ladies. So let's recap real quick here. Here are the 5 real reasons that you don't desire sex. Number 1, you don't prioritize it or make time for it. Number 2, you don't take care of yourself enough and you have bad hormonal health or health in general. Number 3, you don't understand sex drive. Number 4, you're bored. And number 5, you have unhealed sexual trauma, including guilt or shame and or unprocessed conditioning around your sexuality. So if you are ready and serious about changing all of this around and you want to uncover the fullness of your sexual desire and get your frickin' mojo back, then I want you to head to themultiorgasmicmama.com/coaching and let's chat, my dear. All right, have a great day, ladies, and I will see y'all next week. Bye-bye.